it is there. End-to-end encryption is only used on transport of the message. So if you can look at your own content on a phone, then someone that can see what's on the phone can obviously see what you can see. Apple then came up with a way to see what's on the phone by using the iPhone AI, which Apple calls the neural engine. This is the same technology used by YouTube. For example, YouTube is able to scan all the video content using its AI. YouTube gives the AI the characteristics that it wants to moderate, and then the AI goes off searching for these characteristics in videos. And then videos with these characteristics get flagged and will initiate demonetization, video removal, or at worst, account suspension. For example, the AI in the past scanned for any mention of the pandemic and then immediately removed those videos. Presence of such things as nudity, firearms, drugs, and so on will trigger these responses as well. No person needs to review the action of the AI unless a human review is requested. So this is where the AI is now at. The AI at YouTube can analyze every frame of the video, can transcribe every word said, and list the observations of content for moderation. Similarly, the iPhone can perform these tasks. New tasks assigned to the phone neural engine relate to computer vision, meaning the ability of the AI to examine the contents of photos and videos and determine the characteristics of the content. I've shown in other videos how this has gotten very sophisticated. AI can actually determine the amount of nudity in a photo, see the apparent age of individuals, understand the expressions of people, and of course, recognize any text in the image. It should be no mystery that this same technology can perform other analysis like facial recognition and object recognition. This technology is in every new iPhone since iPhone 10, and it is still there today. Well, it was Apple that opened the floodgates to what is possible in technology. A year ago, Apple announced that it was going to use this technology, which I will refer to as AI content scanning, to spot the presence of child exploitation photos in a device. The way this was described was that Apple would send some encrypted instruction to the phone, and the phone would interpret this instruction as a search for some specific content. The content they publicly announced they would search for was CSAM. Then if the content desired is found, the phone will send a message to Apple to identify that particular device. This was referred to in the press as CSAM client-side scanning, and this drew the ire of many in the privacy community, and this CSAM scanning was put on hold. Now, mind you, nothing has changed. The technology for content scanning is in the phones. They just decided that actively implementing a content scan and publicly reporting it is not good for Apple publicity. But unfortunately, politicians saw this as an opportunity. Why not demand that all phones be subject to content scanning pre-encryption? The benefit is for preventing child exploitation. While this sounds good politically and has many innocent supporters who don't really understand the broad implications of this technology means that our privacy using encryption.
Human trafficking has been around since the dawn of time. I don't know how many kids are abducted every year, many. How many people in general. But we've already seen kind of this movement towards human trafficking and sex trafficking and all these different stories rising up where politicians and handlers and things are being sacrificed to this cause. Of course, we don't know the names or any of the players involved other than this Ghislaine Maxwell and that other guy who supposedly killed himself, Epstein. But all that, I knew this was happening years ago. They're going to use that as a noble virtue and common sense logic in order to get us to sacrifice our freedoms of how we use money. So they want everyone essentially registered into databases and our credit or our social credit score linked to digital currency CBDCs, so that they can validate and ensure that we are not sex trafficked or that we are not trafficked slaves to some private entities. So they're going to say, hey, if you're not registered in our system, then you're not privy to any of the benefits of a societal system. They'll also say we need to ensure that everyone and all of their spending habits can be monitored and logged to ensure that people aren't utilizing their money for nefarious things. I mean, it sounds really good, sounds logical, but essentially what it is CBDC control over your entire existence, essentially. Then when they make it so we can't even own land, which is another step in the process, because humans are bad, because we just burn down everything and make everything poisonous and we pollute and all this other stuff. Then we won't have the ability to escape society. We'll just be in these enclosures, and they'll slowly just squeeze us into these small locations until the population of society, of human race, is minimalized. At which point, who knows what the fuck would be the end game. But I mean, there's a lot of ideas which would lead to that type of a psychosis taking over. I mean, the most obvious is the self-destruct mechanism within us, but the solid state brain is another idea. Evil, Satan, whatever is the other idea. I mean, they're all one. Just however you want to cut it is your choice. We need to go back to the golden fucking rule. It's the only thing that makes sense, but I feel like Mother Nature's the only one that can dictate that. Oh, we need white. What the hell? Why? Right. Yeah, I can't sleep. So I was just laying around and I had this idea. What the fuck, man? God damn. Alright, fuck this. It sucks that I can't stop thinking because I know exactly what the motherfucking control state's trying to do, and I don't like it, and no one else gives a shit because it's not healthy to know stuff. It really fucks with you. I can't draw straight lines at this fucking angle. You can't put your hand on the screen or it like doesn't register. It's just, I really don't like digital art. The apps suck. You need like a $10,000 device in order to do something. Or you need to have OCD and figure out the fucking tool in a way that essentially divorces the spirit from the creation in my mind, because I'm a hands-on person. I have a Taurus Mercury. I like to touch things. Jesus Christ. super motherfucking star. Or father, I should say. All right. And I guess that's a compliment. When people take offense to things, it means that they there's a weakness in their belief. Have you noticed that? So the idea with this it's an acoustic guitar, but this part is like a whammy bar option down here. So if you strum the strings, you can push on the strings down here as they're tethered up here and tied off down here. So then you can whammy bar individual notes as you're playing, which basically bends the sound. Either it can drop the pitch or raise the pitch. Now, in order to drop the pitch on this type of setup, you'd either need to lift up or create like a swivel type deals here. So you could push them forward a little bit. But you would either need to do one for each string, do the whole bar, or do one for 2 strings. I would prefer to have the option for 1, but I mean, I would like both options. That's more versatile, you know. So this is the side view right here. Now either you design the guitar like this and you make a neck through piece of wood that goes the entire length down to here to give it substance and power so that it's not, the pressure isn't broken off into the bar in the neck. Or you design an adapter that you can put on a guitar like this. So it would be something that goes over the top. Has like a an arm that goes around. We'd need it to be like that, I guess. Then you could run the strings out, and then you would I guess you'd need to put this little thing up here so that the strings are kind of at an angle a little bit. This probably would be better because then you could just sell this thing individually, and then anyone with a guitar could just add it on if they wanted to play around with this kind of thing. And usually the strings are long enough. You've got like about 8 inches or more string than you need, generally speaking, on a 41-inch guitar. I think the strings are like 49 inches long. I don't know. What was I rambling on about now? Sensibilities become weaknesses when they're associated with caustic systems. What does Krishnamurti say? It's no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a sick society. And that's a profound statement. It's a realism. It's a truth, isn't it? I mean, all these normies, of which I was one at one time, they're not doing it because they're stupid. It's trauma. But there's also a lot of good that comes of that kind of a way of being as well. It's very noble to raise a family, to raise the next generation. The problem is, and this happens to 90% of people that raise kids, is that they're when they don't face their own shit, they just hand it down, But when you're trying to face your own shit, you don't really look like you got it all together. You don't have that stoic persona, the control, And then we judge ourselves harshly because we're emotional, or we're down, or we don't achieve what we could. But really the work you're doing, whatever you're digesting within yourself, whatever you're trying not to project into your kids or into this world, that's like gold, That's actually doing something. And it can only truly be measured by you and the results. And who judges that but you, and your children? And our children, I don't blame my parents for anything. I'm grateful for everything they've given me, good and bad. And I've been blessed that they gave me more good than bad. But when you're little, it doesn't take much, so it's like it makes no sense to try and play the pity party game where you didn't suffer as much as me, or you haven't gone through this or that. And it's like, I've seen people, it doesn't take much for them to get to the point of feeling the depths of some of the shit I've gone through, or some of the stuff other people have gone through. I remember in high school, this kid, forget where he came from in Africa, but he had to kill his own parents when he was a child. What was his name? Ed? I think he went by Eddie when he came over. That's some hardcore shit. But he was like smiling and he was always happy. I'm sure at the time, and I'm sure he still carries the trauma even today, But then I've seen people get slivers and it was like the end of the world. So it's like the judgment is really, there's no place for it, because some people don't need to kill their parents in order to feel the depths of emotional pain or the feelings. Some people are hypersensitive. It doesn't take much. But there is one common thing: no matter what you go through, you always go through it. And if you persevere long enough, you transmute it and you build from that. So we're at this point in time where our virtues become weaponized, our beliefs become weaponized. The persona becomes poison, the mimicry, they say the people get who they vote for. That's a convenient excuse. It basically is All things have an expiration date. All illusions become caustic at some point. You can sit down trauma bound to that, or you can realize that fucking shit and stand up and do something about it. And really what it is, you have to do it within yourself. Otherwise, you just get entrained into reaction of echo response. A lot of good things do come from that. You know, I mean, the War of Independence is pretty good. A lot of people can argue a lot of bad came from that. I mean, nuclear bombs were created out of that. But it's like you don't blame the progeny for the ancestors, and you don't blame the ancestors. We're all learning, and we're all here to solve the problems of our time. And the problems of our time are symbolic. They're riddles for the problems within the self, and it's the things we got to figure out. That's how I view it anyway. Spiritual life is lived. It isn't talked about. It isn't placated through following the ordained ways. Not for me anyway. If it is that way for you, then you're blessed. I mean, you're blessed any way you look at it. Whether you're a follower and an individual, you're blessed. But it's up to you to realize it and make the most of it. Alright, I don't think I'll go to sleep. It's fucking 4:18. I might have slept 2 hours. My little dog, she hurt her leg, you know. She damaged her right knee. Maybe an ACL or something. It seemed a little loose, the vet said. So she slept a few days. I got some 81 milligram aspirin and some kind of phytonutrient thing for ligament repair and all this other stuff. So she slept a few days. And then yesterday she just had the fire, and today she's running all over. I think she might have strained it a little bit. So she's getting smarter, you know. She's starting to be a little more cautious. That comes with age. We got to sacrifice the body. In the alchemy of Taoism, the wood burns, so the trees, they burn through the fire, and then the ashes become soil, and then within the soil, metal is formed, steel, and through the metal and the steel, the water is collected and emitted through the metal. That's a natural cycle. And that water feeds the trees, and the trees grow, and then they burn, and it's a 4-phase process, and the 5th element is the air, is the resulting spirit. And of course, that's what feeds the fire that transforms matter into, but it transforms creation into matter, into emotion, essentially. You know, whatever system you study, you can come up with the same information. It just gives you another way to look at it. And the more ways you have to look at the same thing, the more broad your perspective becomes. The less dogmatic and possessed you become, because you start to realize that the equations don't fucking matter. It's the answers. And you don't need any system. All you need is to figure out how to get in tune with yourself. Really, that's the ultimate system. It's your system. But some of us, we need to study all these other systems to realize the value of what that is. And certainly if you want to communicate it, it helps to know the systems. But life is kind of awesome that way. So even though we seem to be heading into the tech-noc-racy, there's revolutionary energies in the air. We've got control straight that knows cycles, trying to shift it. But they're also autonomous. They're also in possession of spirit. They're playing the role of what change actually is. And if you're hubristic, you call it fate. If you've seen enough systems to know that there are no gods among them, then you realize it's all fucking amazing. But you have to digest these feelings which feed these emotions in order to truly hold that. Otherwise, we get possessed. That's why people don't like to know all this shit and study all these things, because it possesses you, and I can attest to that. But the only way for me to overcome that is to come to realization, and to do that you have to lose yourself. You have to realize the value. And a lot of people, they don't understand that. They won't understand it. They can't. Because at the end of the day, you don't need any systems. You just need to get in tune with the self, and everyone's got their way of doing it. But since I'm talking about it, since I can't help it, it's just a process for me. Alright, well, I think I'm done with this one. So thanks for watching, listening, and being. Got a hair in my mouth.